Okay. Thank you. Let's start with the next session in infective lung pathology. Okay. So asthma is over, right?
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Okay. So today is infective lung pathology. Next is pneumonia. Okay. Pneumonia in a primary cause, it is in a primary thing, it is a very important infection which is involving the lung parenchyma. Okay. Lung parenchyma means what? You have to know what is lung parenchyma. If you understand that initially, you can understand the other entities very easily. Okay. Lung parenchyma means it is the alveoli of the lung. Okay. So pneumonia is an inflammatory condition of the lung. It is characterized by inflammation of the parenchyma of the lung, okay, which is the alveoli, and abnormal alveolar filling with exudate or consolidation. Exudate is nothing but fluid, and consolidation is nothing but hardening, solid. Okay. So are you guys able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this results from when does pneumonia occur in your lung? Okay, in our lung, or when is it occurring in a body? It is occurring when there is a impaired defense mechanism. Okay, when your immune system is low or lowered host resistance in general. Okay, so pneumonia typically it can arise as bacterial or viral. Sometimes what happens is it predisposes to another, like it starts with the viral and it can also show bacterial component. Okay, so it means there are types of pneumonia. What this line means is there are different types of pneumonia. It is not characterized only as inflammation related to only bacterial or viral. So a viral patient can predispose characters of bacterial or viral, okay, or superimposed infections. So what are the factors predisposing the bacterial pneumonia? Okay, which means what are the things which will cause bacterial pneumonia in the body? Okay, in layman words. So cough reflex. When there is loss of cough reflex in coma, anesthesia patient, neuromuscular disorders, you tend to inhale products, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, don't mute yourself. When I ask you something, try to answer. Okay, when there is a loss of cough reflex. Next is injury to the mucociliary apparatus. Okay, which means, do you remember this immotile cilia syndrome? Yesterday I told you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Just if you just read it out, it will be easier. Okay, so after the class, because everything will be connected. So when there is an injury to the mucociliary apparatus, there is a cause of bacterial pneumonia and interference with phagocytic or bacterial action in the alveolar macrophages. Okay, and pulmonary edema and accumulated secretions. So next, okay, if resistance has been lowered, okay, of the host has been lowered, in which conditions? In chronic diseases, immunological diseases, immunosuppressive agents, leukopenia, and very virulent organisms. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, now that the pathogen has entered, because of ciliary movement, loss of ciliary movement, or loss of cough reflex, or anything. So, how does it enter? It can enter either through direct extension from the mediastinum, right? Or hematogenous spread, hematogenous seeding, or inhalation or direct inhalation of the microorganism into the lower airways. Or again, it is aspiration of oropharyngeal contents. So clinically, pneumonia, I told you, pneumonia can be like when you treat the patient, you have to treat the patient accordingly. If it is bacterial, you have to treat the patient with bacterial or antibacterial therapy or antiviral therapy, or however it is possible. Okay, so pneumonia classification by the clinical setting narrows the list of suspected pathogens, okay, for empirical antimicrobial therapy. So pneumonias are classified by specific etiological agents which determine the treatment. Okay, there are 7 distinct clinical settings. So all these things are important. Only few names. I am telling you, only 2 names: clinically acquired acute pneumonia, streptococcus, and hemophilus. Only 2 are enough. Okay, and the rest is just for you to know. Okay, so next is community acquired atypical pneumonia, can be caused by mycoplasma and chlamydia. Nosocomial pneumonia, I told you there are 7. Out of that, 2 are community acquired acute pneumonia. It is also called as CAAP. Next is CAAP, which is community acquired atypical pneumonia. Next is nosocomial pneumonia, aspiration pneumonia, chronic pneumonia, and necrotizing pneumonia. Okay, so the last will be pneumonia in immunocompromised host. So there are 7 types of pneumonia. So in the first class, before all this lockdown and everything, I told you there are consolidations. Okay, so in that I told you there is lobular and lobar pneumonia, right? Lobular pneumonia refers to patchy consolidations. You see the patches here? These are the patchy consolidations. Whereas lobar, in the name itself, it is defined. Lobe. A complete lobe is, or the entire lobe is consolidated. So can you tell which is patchy and which is consolidated, lobular, and which is lobar? What is this? The pointer which I am showing, what is this? What is this?
Sir, there is no
The one which is on the left side.
No,
What
sir.
type of bacterial pneumonia can it be? Okay, 1 minute. I guess I got a message that you guys are not able to see anything.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. One minute. Now you are able to see?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No? I'll just stop the share and I'll you guys log in again, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're able to see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the left side is lobar and the right side picture shows lobular consolidation. Okay, lobular consolidation. So 4 stages of lobular pneumonia. What are the 4 stages of lobular pneumonia? It consists of congestion. First thing, when the lung becomes heavy, boggy, and vascular. Okay, there is vascular engorgement or intra-alveolar fluid with neutrophils are filled. Okay, because there is a pneumonia. Pneumonia means there is inflammation. Inflammation means there is aggregates of inflammatory cell. Next stage is red hepatization. Red hepatization is nothing but, if you remember, there is red hepatization in the liver also. So a firm, airless lung, just like liver. Okay, consistency will be there. Alveolar spaces are filled with RBCs. Okay, so alveolar space. Next comes gray hepatization and resolution. Resolution, I hope everyone knows what is resolution or organization. It is coming back into the normal state, okay, or manifestation. So what are the common clinical manifestations you see in bacterial pneumonia? Fever, chills, okay. Why fever, chills? Can anyone tell? There is first chapter of pathology. First chapter there will be the inflammation. When there is inflammation, you will have fever and chills. Then malaise, then productive cough, occasionally hemoptysis. Okay, what is hemoptysis?
Blood
Cough
in a cough. During cough, there is a blood.
Okay, good. Then pleuritic chest pain, tachycardia, and tachypnea. Okay. So diagnostic, what do you do to confirm it? So we do gram stains, mainly cultures. Okay, mainly cultures, sputum and blood cultures, and if there is any exudate, okay, if there is any exudate, we'll send those body fluids for culture. Okay, then we see for CBC and chest X-ray. So now we'll talk about individual pneumonias. So first one is community acquired pneumonia. So if it is mild to moderate, the treatment is just an appropriate antibiotic as OP, outpatients. Okay, if it is severe, if the patient is having severe dyspnea, so when there is emphysema and extrapulmonary foci of infections, what should you do? There will be hospitalization. Okay, there will be hospitalization. And other significant disease which can aggravate pneumonia are COPD and what is CHF? What is CHF? Can you all see me?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So what is CHF? So I'll ask you by names probably. Who is 17807077? So 0077 can answer what is CHF. Okay. So next comes, first community acquired pneumonia is over. Next comes bronchopneumonia. Okay. So bronchopneumonia, the lung shows patches of consolidation. Okay, one or two lobes or one or more lobes are involved. Okay, consolidation, in the word itself it is there, solid. Okay, a solid appearance. So what could be the complications of pneumonia? So pneumonia, it can go and it can cause abscess because there is exudate. Okay, and emphysema or organization of the exudate can turn up to fibrosis. Okay, if not treated well, if not treated with high antibiotics, it can go turn up to fibrosis. Okay, then pleuritis, pleural effusion, and bronchopleural fistula. Next is necrotizing pneumonia and lung abscess. Necrotizing or lung abscess, nothing but necrotizing or lung abscess. There will be a localized collection. Okay, just like pus, there will be a localized suppurative process within the lung, which leads to necrosis of the lung. Okay, it can be an anaerobic bacteria with or without mixture of aerobic infection. Okay. So, what could be the cause of lung abscess? Any unabsorbed material, okay, any unabsorbed material or any aspirate which can infect or which can tend to cause infection, generally, most generally in a setting of altered consciousness. Okay, next is post pneumonia abscess. So next is post pneumonia abscess, especially seen in Staph aureus. Okay, next is septic embolism and As fourth point, you can see neoplasms. Like in neoplasms with secondary infections means any tumors with secondary infections. Okay, and direct penetration. So can you in this picture, can you tell me where the lung abscess is? Okay, at least in which lobe, in the upper or lower lobe? Yeah. So this part, there is an abscess. Okay. So this is the collection exudate on a hole. You see, this is the whole collection of exudate. So it can have dendritic material, neutrophils, collection of neutrophils and everything. Okay, this is a normal alveolar gaps you see, but this is the collection of inflammatory cells. So next is atypical pneumonia. Okay, what is atypical pneumonia? Atypical pneumonia means it can be either viral or mycoplasma. So initially, all the pneumonia which was occurring, all the patients who were suffering with pneumonia, they thought it could only be caused by bacterial. Okay, but later on, when they came to know that there is another entity which is caused by virus, these things were called as atypical pneumonias. Okay, so it was also called as non-bacterial. Inflammation is confined to the alveolar septa and pulmonary interstitium. Okay, so pathological changes include, I told you yesterday, no, interstitial pneumonitis, and I told you what is, you have to study about DAD, diffuse alveolar damage. The changes can occur like that, similar to that. Okay, so what is nosocomial? Nosocomial pneumonia means mainly related to our hospital care itself. Okay, it is nothing from the outside. First thing is healthcare associated pneumonia, hospital acquired pneumonia, ventilator associated pneumonia. Okay, so what is healthcare associated pneumonia? Hospitalization for more than 2 days. Okay, beyond 2 days. Okay, the resident of a nursing home or a long-term care facility. Okay, also if the patient received any IV antibiotic therapy, chemotherapy or wound care in the last 30 days, people can be affected with this, or regular hemodialysis patients. That is hospital care associated. Next is hospital acquired, which means pneumonia that occurs 48 hours or more after the admission. Okay, which is an incubation time. Okay, for at the time of after the admission, after 48 hours after the admission. Next is ventilator associated pneumonia. As you know, everything is there in the name itself. You just have to think. So pneumonia that arises more than 48 to 72 hours after endotracheal intubation, which is a ventilator. Okay, when they are on ventilators. So what is chronic pneumonia? Chronic means, always remember, pneumonia, lung, chronic infection can be granulomatous. Granuloma means tuberculosis, which is bacteria. Okay, so yesterday I told you, not other granulomas, sarcoidosis also can cause granulomas. Okay, same like histoplasma. Okay, so we will talk about fungi also. Yes, we are talking about bacteria and virus. So we'll start talking about fungi from now. So fungi are all dimorphic. So they grow as hyphae, right? They produce spores at environmental temperatures and grow as yeast also, where there are spherules and at body temperatures. Okay, so first is, remember, this is very important because fungi are your slides for your exams. Okay, so when you write the description about slide, you have to know the features. So once you listen to this, you'll understand what are the clinical features and pathological features. So histoplasmosis, it is generally a mid east and southeast, mainly in those regions it is occurring. So histoplasmosis capsulatum. Okay, histoplasma. Write the spellings correctly. Okay, because when you write your exams, spellings are also important. So it exists in soil. It is a very, very rare disease. Okay, histoplasmosis generally is a very, very rare disease. Okay, occurs from bird and bat droppings that contains spore. Okay. Clinical presentations are very similar to that of TB, tuberculosis, which means there is a granuloma formation. Okay. So grossly, there is a coin lesion in the lung, and in this, you see the yeast forms in the phagocytes. In pathological features, like in histopathology, what will it do? Yesterday I told you, epithelioid cells, Langerhans cells, and necrosis. Okay. It can be non-caseating. It need not be caseating. It can be non-caseating. Okay, because caseating necrosis is seen in tuberculosis. Okay. Blastomycosis. So I'll tell you the picture. First, focus on the picture. Okay. So these round budding leaves. Okay, which are, when compared to the other cells, these are large. See, larger than neutrophils are present. Okay. What is the other characteristic feature? They have a very thick wall. Okay. These are prominently seen. They have a thick wall. Okay. So blastomycosis is again differentiated into pulmonary blastomycosis, disseminated, and cutaneous form. Okay. So pneumocystis pneumonia. Okay. So pneumocystis pneumonia, generally it can never occur in a healthy individual. So where do you see this? Do you see this in an immunocompromised individual? When they are on steroid therapy or MMF or anything, you can see them on. So these diseases can occur too. So it is the characteristic pathological feature is the intraalveolar foamy exudate containing organisms. Okay, in the interstitial pneumonia. So cytomegalovirus. See, when there is virus, okay, when there is bacteria, it is different. When there is fungi, it is different. When there is virus, you will see nuclear inclusions. Remember, common thing. Any virus in the body, you will see nuclear inclusions in the cell. Okay, so clinical presentation will be fever, dyspnea, non-productive cough, diffuse lung infiltrates. See, high power. This is the nuclear inclusion. Okay, so this is what I mean by nuclear inclusions. Cryptococcus. So natural, this actually occurs in the natural habitat. Okay, and pigeon droppings, where it shows variable presentations, but okay, pathology varies from no reaction to necrotizing granulomas. Okay. So next slide. Okay, one is histoplasmosis. Next examination slide is, I'm just categorizing what is very important. The rest of the diseases are also important, but these will be asked in your viva also. Okay. So aspergillosis, pulmonary aspergillosis are of 3 types. Okay. Allergic, bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, aspergilloma, and invasive aspergillosis. Okay. So aspergilloma is nothing but a fungal growth. Can you see this? This round hazy part? This is a fungal growth. Okay. In an X-ray, it shows as a picture of a fungal ball. And what do you see? Aspergilloma, what do you see? Hyphae, right? There will be growth as hyphae. So invasive pulmonary aspergillosis usually is an opportunistic infection in immunocompromised patients. Okay. I told you one disease which is very common, which is very uncommon. It grows in soil. Okay, where and also shows necrotizing granulomas. Can you tell what is that? This is just a small question for you. That's all. Few slides few slides back, I told you that there is one disease. okay, which is very rare.
Histoplasmosis.
Okay, good. Okay, so now so I don't know how many people have were there for the first class. Okay, I'll just give a small brush up of the first initial class, which is very important for you guys. And most of the guys were not there. Okay, so this is structure. This is what we have to know when you study about lung initially. Okay, because next chapter, next class will be of neoplasms. Okay, and tumors. That will be the final. So you just have to know when you start your lung chapter, you have to know the structure and function of the lung, major groups of lung disorders. Okay, and various types, which is infective, obstructive, restrictive, and neoplastic. We finished obstructive, restrictive, infective. Now we have finished in this class. Okay. So most important, okay, most important and basic thing you have to remember, and you have to draw, because pathology is only about pictures. So you have to draw is, you have to know that it starts with the terminal bronchiole, continues as a respiratory bronchiole, then the alveolar duct and alveolar sac. Together, the respiratory bronchiole, alveolar duct, and alveolar sac are called as a terminal respiratory unit. When you study in your books, it will be mentioned as terminal respiratory unit. So when it is mentioned like that, you have to understand that it starts after the terminal bronchiole. Okay. Also, this is how a normal, okay, this is the normal histology of a lung. Okay, it consists of two types of epithelium, type 1 and type 2 epithelium. I'll tell you what are those types also and what is the function of it. Okay, it has a capillary lumen and endothelium. Most important thing is endothelium. So type 1 and type 2, I told you, epithelium, they are pneumocytes. They have flat. Type 1 has, I'll show you. See, remember this. This is the type 1 and this is type 2. So type 1 has flat pavement type covering 95% of the alveolar space, and type 2 has rounded cells. Okay. So they are the most important epithelium for source of surfactant, and next is they are involved in repair. Okay, repair mechanism. So type 1 and type 2. Why I am telling you is, when you go on, you'll not be able to come back to the previous page. So you just have to remember this. Okay. So the first entity is atelectasis. Next is acute lung injury, obstructive, restrictive, and pneumonias. Okay. So atelectasis is nothing but collapse of lung. There are three types: resorption, compression, and contraction. Resorption is caused by when there is a obstruction. See, this is a picture. See, this is the part where there is, in the upper lobe, there is a obstruction. So caused by complete obstruction of an airway leads to resorption of the oxygen trapped in a dependent alveoli. Compression means coming close. Okay, becoming congested. When will it happen? When there is pleural effusion or pneumothorax. So compression. See, this part, the lower part, is getting compressed. Next is contractions. Contraction is nothing but it is due to localized or generalized fibrotic changes in the lung. When there is chronic infection, probably there will be contraction. When there is a tumor, there will be a contraction. Okay. So acute lung injury. Where do you see an acute lung injury? When there is congestion or when there is severe pulmonary edema, okay, or surfactant disruption, or when there is a collapse, direct collapse due to physical injury also. Okay. So encompasses the spectrum of pulmonary lesions. Okay, pulmonary lesions, it can be either endothelial or epithelial. So pulmonary edema, it is there in the book. I don't want to tell you all this. So pulmonary edema, what is pulmonary edema? It is nothing but what it is? It is nothing but infection, right? Infection which is on microscopy, what will you see? Alveolar capillaries are engorged. Intraalveolar granular pink precipitate is seen. Okay, heart failure cells you will be seeing. Okay, this is the most prominent and important feature. Heart failure cells. What are they? These are fibrosis and thickening of the alveolar wall and hemosiderin-laden macrophages. Okay, these hemosiderin-laden macrophages are called heart failure cells. On gross, pulmonary edema on gross, the lungs will become very wet and heavy, firm and brown. Okay, so there will be brown induration in the lungs. I told you, diffuse alveolar damage. So diffuse alveolar damage. What is a diffuse? It is also called as acute respiratory distress syndrome. Okay, a syndrome caused by diffuse alveolar capillary damage. Okay, it is characterized by what? It is characterized by a rapid onset of severe life-threatening respiratory illness, which can be insufficiency of the lung, cyanosis, or severe atrial hypoxia. Okay, so see, look at this picture. When there is a constant injury to the epithelium, see, I told you, it can be or maybe due to epithelial injury or endothelial injury. So when there is injury to the epithelium, there is necrosis of the type 1 cells. What are the type 1 cells looking like? Can anyone tell? There are flat and pavement type. Okay, whereas type 2 cells are rounded. So type 1 cells, there will be necrosis of the type 1 cells. So next is endothelial injury. What will happen when there is endothelial injury? Obviously, there will be leaking. Okay, the blood will tend to leak away. So there will be leaking of the capillaries. What will happen next is there will be edema. Okay, because there is leaking, there will be a difference in the extracellular and intracellular component. There will be edema, and because there is necrosis of the epithelium, there will be irregular formation, which means hyaline membrane will be formed. Okay. When you go on, when there is prolonged exposure, there will be a collapse or can be fibrosis, or it can become a honeycomb lung. So why I am telling you all this is, I know few of you have attended, but this is very important. You have to know. So causes of DID are infection, inhalation, physical, chemical, or disseminated intracoagulation, and pancreatitis. Okay, intravascular coagulation. So clinical features are profound dyspnea, tachypnea. Okay, are you guys listening?
Yes, sir.
The only reason I'm going fast is most of you have attended this class. It's only for two people, I think. That is the reason I'm just repeating it. Okay. So what if you remember the normal histology of the lung? Okay, there were thin alveolar spaces, but if you see now, okay, alveoli shows dense proteinaceous debris, dense proteinaceous and desquamated cells and hyaline membrane. See the membrane, how thick it has become, and lots of inflammatory cells, lots of inflammatory infiltrate. Okay, and one more thing I told you, endothelial leakage. See, if you see in this picture, there are a lot of RBCs irregularly present. Okay, there is thrombin present like that. Okay, so imagine in a normal lung, such thing is happening. Will you be able to breathe properly? No. And one more thing is your lung. What is the primary function of the lung? What is the primary function of the lung?
Gas exchange.
Gaseous exchange. And one more thing. Okay, we'll just take gaseous exchange. We will, if the lung is so much exposed, will the gaseous exchange take place properly? No, definitely no. So it will lead to predisposing factors or superimposed infections. Okay. Out of that, if the patient is having comorbid conditions like diabetes or hypertension, it can be even more severe. So altogether, DAD, diffuse alveolar damage, is a very critical disease. Okay, so average mortality rate in this patients are generally 50. Okay, so out of that, from that 10 to 90 depending upon the cause and severity of the lung injury. So next important thing is inhalation of NO may help. Okay, so I told you now, acute interstitial pneumonia. Acute interstitial pneumonia rapidly progresses into acute interstitial pneumonia. It rapidly progresses into rapidly progressive interstitial pneumonia. Okay, it is a specific inciting agent. Event is not identified as compared to DAD. Okay, what will happen here is the features are identical to organizing DAD, and it may be considered as a variant of DAD. Next is obstructive pulmonary diseases. So in that, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. What conditions are together called COPD? Can anyone tell? There is emphysema, chronic bronchitis, asthma, and bronchiectasis. Can anyone tell?
No, sir.
What is COPD? Those who have attended. So because there is an assessment for you guys.
Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Yeah, very good. Because there is an assessment this Saturday, I want you guys to at least tell the basics. Okay, at least remember the conditions and few features. Okay, where it can occur and what is the mortality rate, what are the pathological features. At least these you can remember. Okay, so emphysema. Emphysema is also one more condition which is very important. Okay, characterized by engorgement of the alveolar spaces. Okay, distal to terminal bronchioles. Distal to, which means from distal to terminal. Terminal means ending part. Okay, accompanied by, most important thing here is destruction of their walls and without obvious fibrosis. So there are how many types of emphysema? Does anyone remember? Okay, can you tell any one type of emphysema? This is not to check if you are reading or not. This is just to remember, helping you remember everything. That's all. This is not to check or anything. Okay. So one is centriacinar, panacinar, paraseptal, and irregular. So totally there are 4 types of emphysema: centriacinar, panacinar, paraseptal, and irregular. Out of this, centriacinar is the most common type. Okay, so centriacinar or proximal centriacinar is the central or the proximal part of the acini formed by respiratory bronchioles are affected. Okay, so what is happening here? Mainly here it is written as central or proximal part of the acini. So you can by the word itself you can understand that the upper lobes alone are involved here, okay, which means the distal part, okay, near to the distal part. So where do you see this? Mainly in heavy smokers. The walls of the emphysematous spaces often contain large amounts of black pigments, okay. So do you remember the black pigments yesterday we were talking, no? Coal workers, pneumoconiosis. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is that pigment called? Okay, tomorrow I'll ask you. Okay. So tomorrow I'll ask you what is that pigment called? It starts with A. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
picture of centriacinar is this. Okay. Pan-acinar is the complete. Pan means like pandemic. So complete. Okay. Pan-acinar, the acini are uniformly enlarged from the level of the respiratory bronchioles to the terminal blind alveoli. Okay. Also, tomorrow I'll ask you what is alpha-1 antitrypsin. Okay. What is alpha-1 antitrypsin? It is associated with, this disease is associated with alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. Most important difference is this occurs in the lower zone, mostly at the most severe at the bases. Okay, lower zone. Sorry. So what is irregular emphysema? The acini is irregularly involved. Okay, it doesn't stick to terminal or central or the proximal. Okay, acini is irregularly involved and is almost invariably associated with scarring. Okay. Other emphysemas are compensatory, senile, obstructive, bullous, and interstitial. Okay. So tomorrow I'll ask you what is alpha-1 antitrypsin. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. So are you guys reading?
Yes, sir.
So if you are reading, next class try to answer. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
fine. Your class ends. Okay, bye.
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 Bye, sir.